Okay, good day once again. Since we already created a links a while ago, so we have now singly insertion of linked list. So we'll be having a simulation on inserting a node at the beginning of the list, in which previously we have a list before, which is 3 nodes, which is either if I remember 7, 5, and 3. So when we're trying to insert a node at the beginning, say right before 7. Now if we'll be inserting a node at the end, it will be right after the last item or last node, which is 3. And for inserting a node at intermediate position, we'll be entering a certain position where we want to insert a particular node and move along the node from the point that we want to insert a particular item on the list. Now inserting a node at the beginning, so we have here some code here and try to simulate it. So we have here already certain this here with each connected by a chain. Our head was 100, specifying the first node, which is on memory address 100, which is the data item is 15. Okay, so this is the first data item 15, and the next node is 200, goes with 21. The next node is 300, so on and so forth until to the last node, which is 8. And of course, remember that when we have the last node, the node for the next is, for the null pointer is blank, null. Okay, so on the list that we have here in our screen, the first node was 15, okay, under the memory address 100. Now if we are trying to insert, so it will be moving 100 onwards. Okay, so let's say we will be inserting a new node here, which is under a memory address of 600, okay, which data item is 41, in which we'll insert right here, no, right before item 15. Okay, now what will happen here now is, what would be the address of the node right after the new node, in which the first node was previously 15, so therefore he will become the 15 will become the second node later on. Okay, if 15 was the second data item after we have inserted 41, so therefore this address of the 600 memory 41 will be 100. Okay, so let's click on it, and the head will now become 600. Okay, as we have here inserting the node at the beginning. So head will become now removed or back to a certain value, which will become 600, and now the new node for the next one will be 100, specifying that 15 before was the first node. Okay, so therefore this arrow connected from head on address 100 will now be removed, because the head now pointing that the first node will be 600, which is our item is 41. And then this will now connect from head for the first node, which is now 41, so which is previously the first node is 15. Okay, now 15 will now become the second node, because it will now directly connect to this item. So previously we have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes in our item list. Now we have already now 6, in which we have inserted 41. Okay, which a memory address of 600. So our head now will become 600. So for instance, we'll be inserting another node in the beginning. So later on, 600 now will become the second node later on. Okay, so let's say we have now 700. 700 now will become also the head, and then for that particular head, the first item will now become, let's say I put 50 there, and then it will point on 600 would be the next node. Okay, so that is for the inserting at the beginning. Same thing with inserting a node at the end. So currently we have here 1, 2, 3 items only. 8 items on the node, which is 15, 21, and 13. 13 was the last node. Okay, so in which we will be inserting here, which is 8, for the new node, which will be right after 13. Okay, remember that the last node always have a memory address of null, so therefore this null later on will turn into what number? It should be 500, because we'll be inserting 8 for the next new node. Okay, and then the new node will have now the null value, so we will be having later on 4 nodes later on. Okay, now how will be the sequence, since it will insert immediately on the last node. Okay, so we are having here a variable temp in order to identify where we'll be putting the new node. Okay, so let's say I have 6 or 5 items, so I have to move from one memory address to another, in which I can reach if it is already null. So therefore I will create the node for it. Okay, so the initial value for temp, for instance, our head was 100, which the next address is 200, so it's not empty. So our temp will proceed to the next memory address, which is 200, and as you can see, 200 is not also having a null value for the next node. Now it will also again proceed with 300. Now 300 is not actually also having, it's already null value, so this is where we'll be inserting the new node. Okay, so therefore my new node will be having a null here, in which therefore I'll be inserting now this value, which is 500 for my new node, which is an item of 8, and having that my memory address will be having a 500 for the new node. Okay, so initially we have having an insertion on the end of the node. So every now and then we insert node at the end, so it will look for the null value of the next node in order to insert at the end of the list. Okay, so for connecting, so we have already 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes already, after we have inserted the node on the last. Okay, now inserting a node at the middle is simply a little different from inserting at the beginning and the end, because from this point we'll be pointing or entering first what position we want to try to insert the node. Okay, so currently I have here 1, 2, and 3 node lists, in which there are 15 items. First item is 15, 21, and 13. So if you count it, there are only 3 lists. So if we try to put the position that you want to insert, you can only go with 2. Okay, so we cannot put here 3 because 3 is not actually in the middle. Okay, so specifically we don't have any way to enter when we have asked to enter the value to be inserted in the list, so we can only put 2. So where we will be putting this new node, which is 8, under a memory address of 500. Okay, and of course initially there is a null value here, so later on it will be changed also. Okay, so that's why we have here while I less than n. So initially I was now entered incrementally, okay, until we reach 2. Okay, so for the first point, so our memory address for the first one is 100, which is our head. Okay, and then I will be starting with 1. Now while I less than n, and then we'll proceed to the temp of next. Okay, so when we have here I of I, so which is the temp of next is 200. Okay, now remember that we have not yet equivalent with 1 or 2. So when you say I less than n, is I, which is 1, less than 2? Yes, of course it is less than 2, so it will perform the looping. Okay, so we'll move to the next item, which will become 200. Is it now 200? After 200, I will also increment, which is 2. Therefore 2 is already equivalent with position 2. So this is where we will be inserting now the new node, which is 8. Okay, now since our new node is under memory address 500 and the data item is 8, what would be the address of the new node? It is 200, inserting at this level. So this will be cut later on. Okay, so this will be removed later on. Okay, and it will insert this, okay, 8 on this particular line. Okay, so let's try to sequence it again. So this now will become, no, so it was already, previously it was 200 pointing to item 21. Now if we'll be inserting at this level, so this address will now be changed into what number? It will become 500 because we'll be inserting in this particular line. Okay, so let's proceed with next. Okay, therefore there we have here 500 pointing at this connection now for the next node. Okay, and this one will be disconnected, and now for this 200 we'll be connecting to this data item. Okay, so that will be now the new connection of chain from inserting at the middle. Okay, so let's try to next it again, so you could see it was already disconnected from from 100 between 200 because we have inserted 500. Okay, but still 200 and 300 will be connected by its connection. So there, so what I have draw a list line a while ago, so it's right. Okay, inserting on this particular data item. So that's how we are trying to insert a node at the middle. So let's say we have 5 on the list, so we can put 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, so but not 5 or more than the list. Okay, so you're not be allowed to enter a number which is not included in the list. So if our list is only 5, so we cannot enter a position of 10 or 16, of course. Okay, it should be according only on the size of the list. Okay, so that would be for the inserting of the node in the beginning, end, and middle. Okay, so that's it again for this time. Okay, so there's the connection. Okay, and once again, good day.